Hare Krishna. My name is Shanta Vigraha. Welcome to Hare Krishna today. Lord Krishna is described to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead within the Vedic literature. Janmadhyasya yata anvayad itarataschatyesho vigyaswarat. That the Supreme Lord is Him from whom everything emanates. And therefore it is said, Satyam Param Dhimahi. We meditate on that absolute truth. Ete chamsa kala pumsha Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam Indra Ari Vyakulam Lokam Mridayanti Yuge Yuge. That Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but He has many incarnations that appear within this world for annihilating the demons that cause trouble to the rulers of this material universe, one of the chiefs of whom is none other than Indra. And therefore, from time to time, when disturbances arise within the universal creation, Krishna appears in various incarnations. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, in different sections, the history of two different demons are given. That of Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyaksha, he had appeared and he was excavating without any relenting the resources of the earth, so much so that an imbalance was created and the earth fell into the lower regions of the universe. In order to defeat this demon known as Hiranyaksha, the Lord appeared in the form of Varahadev. And He killed this demon, Hiranyaksha. Now, this Hiranyaksha had a brother by the name of Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu, when he saw that the Lord had appeared and killed his brother, he developed a great hatred, a great enmity, a desire for extracting revenge on the Lord for killing his beloved brother. He was so overwhelmed by anger and grief that he decided he wanted to kill the Lord. He wanted to kill Vishnu or Krishna. And therefore, to achieve that end, he performed great austerities for a very long period of time. So much was he involved in his austerities that his body became emaciated and eventually became consumed. That practically speaking, his life was barely existing within his body. And his flesh had deteriorated. So much so, when certain disturbances were taking place within the universe as a result of his austerities, the Devatas, headed by Indra and others, approached the chief Devata of this universe, known as Lord Brahma, and begged him, please, you see if you can rectify the situation, because he's performing these austerities to please you. Lord Brahma went and appeared before Hiranyakashipu, and after being pacified by prayers, he offered Hiranyakashipu a benediction. He said, my dear Hiranyakashipu, I am pleased by your performance of austerities. Please ask some benediction from me. Hiranyakashipu had conceived in his head a plan by which he would be able to dominate the universe. And he said, my dear Lord Brahma, I asked the benediction that I would not meet death by any living entity that was created by you. My dear Lord Brahma, I wish that I would not die within a building or outside of it. I wish that I will not die within the daytime or the nighttime. I wish that I will not die on the ground, on the earth, or within the sky. I do not want to be killed by any weapon, nor any human being, nor any animal. I do not want to be killed by any devata or by any demon or even the great serpents, the great snakes that occupy the lower regions of the universe. I desire that I shall have no rival, that I desire that you grant me lordship over the living entities and even the presiding deities of this universe. And I would like that you grant me access to all the mystic powers like Lagima and Mahima, Prapti, etc. Lord Brahma, he agreed. Yes, I will give you access to all the mystic powers and I will grant you all that you have asked me for. Hiranyakashipu, he was very happy within himself. And when he received these great powers, he used it as a platform to begin his reign of terror. Hiranyakashipu embarked on many expeditions through which he conquered all the planetary systems within this material universe. And he took up residence and sat on the throne of Indra, the chief amongst the Devatas. There's a saying that was made by a former president of the United States, Abraham Lincoln. He says, nearly all men can stand adversity, but if you want to test a man's character, give him power. Nearly all men can stand adversity, but if you really want to test a man's character, then give him power. Hiranyakashipu, when he received these benedictions from Lord Brahma, it was tantamount to gaining immense, unimaginable power. And what did he use it for? He used it to rain terror on others. He ruled not by love, but by fear. Everyone had to succumb to his will. Hiranyakashipu used his benedictions to terrorize the universe. And we can reflect on this. We may be fortunate at some point in time in our life to be blessed in certain ways, whether it be by good education, by having access to wealth, strength, beauty, power, fame, whatever have you. We may be blessed by so many things. But sadly, if we do not possess good character, then those blessings become burdens and even curses in our life. Ultimately, those blessings would not be able to sustain in our lives. They become the source of trouble for others, and ultimately they act as burdens on our back and force us down. And therefore, we have to learn from Hiranyakashipu, as we'll see what happens as his story unfolds. After receiving this power, he began to terrorize the universe. It is said that by an unfavorable lifting of his eyebrow, the Devatas would cower in fear. And what is the use of that? Everyone fears you, but nobody likes you. This Hiranyakashipu eventually would have a son. He had a son. This son was named Prahlad. Prahlad, he had the opportunity that while he was within the womb of his mother, he got the benediction of a great sage by the name of Narad Muni. Narad Muni, apart from Lord Krishna, within the Srimad Bhagavatam appears practically in almost every section of the Bhagavatam. From the very first canto, he appears to give direction to Mahamuni Vyas. He then appears when Maharaj Parikshit is sitting on the bank of the Ganga, Jamuna, about to give up his life. He appears in the second canto of Bhagavatam. In so many different places he appears. So this Narad Muni, he came and he gave protection to Hiranyakashipu's wife while he was performing austerities to get these terrible benedictions, or rather these benedictions through which he would use to terrorize the universe. His wife was pregnant at that time with this boy who would later be known as Prahlad. Narad Muni could see that this child was also meant for greatness and instructed this child while he was within the womb of his mother. And very interesting, when this child was born, he, to the great dismay of his father, from a very young boy, he began to display divine qualities. He began to display qualities that he was a devotee of the Lord. And this enraged Hiranyakashipu. But he did not act at this time. As Prahlad grew up, his devotion also grew. His father, seeking what he thought was the best interest for his son, entrusted him into two private tutors by the name of Shanda and Amarka. And they would teach the lessons that was in the curriculum, as it were, developed by Hiranyakashipu or ordered by Hiranyakashipu. But these lessons did not sit well within the consciousness of Prahlad. He felt that by these lessons, they were teaching me to appreciate one kind of person at the expense of another. They were not teaching me to appreciate everyone. It was a very one-sided, very biased type of education. And so one day, as parents often do, they ask their children what they learned in school. And Prahlad, as he was sitting on the lap of his father very affectionately asked him, "My dear son, what did you learn in school?" And Prahlad Maharaj, he said to his father, very bold, even though he was a young child. He said, "Tata sadhu manye suravarya dehinam sada samudvigna diyama sadgrahat hidvatma patam grahamanda kupam vanam gatoya dharmashrayeta." He said, "O best of the asuras, O king of demons, as far as I have learned from my spiritual master, any person who has accepted this temporary body and temporary household life is certainly embarrassed by anxiety because of having fallen into a dark well where there's no water but only suffering. One should give up that position and go to the forest, Vana. More clearly, one should go to Vrindavan, where only Krishna consciousness is prevalent, and thus he should take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead." He's calling his father, "O best of the asuras, O best of the demons." He's saying that you think that you have all these benedictions, that your life is for certain. No. Rather, the more you become entrenched within this world, the more you sink. He likens this material world to a great dark well where there isn't any happiness, but only suffering. What is the evidence of that? If we examine very closely, very honestly, how we operate in this life, Majority of what we go through is some sort of miserable condition. At the end, we get some taste of happiness, but it is so flickering. It is so minuscule for in terms of the effort we actually put in to achieve it. And therefore, Prahlad Maharaj says that we have to aspire to a higher goal of life. He recommends Vanam, that we should endeavor or develop the consciousness of Vrindavan. Even if we may not be able to go there physically, we can develop the consciousness of Vrindavan. What is the consciousness of Vrindavan? That everyone has the Lord in the center of their lives. Hiranyakashipu, he was disturbed by this. And the teachers, they began to become defensive. And they went and they continued to teach. And as some time passed, Hiranyakashipu felt confident that the lessons would take root. And therefore he called his son again. What did you learn in school? What is the best thing you learned in school? From your teachers. And Prahlad Maharaj said, Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Padasevanam Archanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakyam Atma Nivedanam Iti Pumsarpita Vishnu Bhakti Shenavalakshanam Kreta Bhagavatyadha Tanmadhyedhitam Uttamam. He says, hearing and chanting about the transcendental holy name, form, qualities, paraphernalia and pastimes of Lord Vishnu, remembering them, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, offering respectful worship with 16 types of paraphernalia, archanam, offering prayers to the Lord, becoming the Lord's servant, and considering the Lord to be one's best friend, and ultimately surrendering everything unto the Lord, serving Him with mind, body, and words completely. He says these 9 processes are accepted as pure devotional service. One who has dedicated his life to the service of Krishna through these 9 methods should be understood to be the most learned person, for he has acquired full knowledge. As one can imagine, when Hiranyakashipu heard this, his father became angry. Where is he learning this from? Prahlad continued. He said to him only a few verses later, he said, Matirna Krishne Paratak Swatova Mito Bipadyeta Grahavratanam Adanta Gobir Vishatamta Mishram Punapunascharvita Charvananam. He says, because of a person's uncontrolled senses, persons too addicted to materialistic life make progress towards hellish conditions and repeatedly chew that which had been chewed. Their inclinations towards Krishna are never aroused. In other words, they never develop an inclination to serve God, whether it be by the instructions of others, by their own efforts, or by a combination of the both things. Punapunascharvita charvananam. This material world is such that, like if you squeeze sugarcane, you get some juice, you get some sweetness. But after you squeeze sugarcane juice and you get that sweetness, and the husk remains, and you try to chew that husk, do you get any sweetness? No, only trouble. So the material world is such that there is some element, there is some measure of happiness within this material world. But ultimately, when that has been extracted, it only gives trouble. And we chase after something which does not yield any benefit. And therefore, Hiranyakashipu, he signifies someone in this material world that all he's interested in is how to try to enjoy within this world without any sense of the higher aim of life, the higher goal of life. And therefore, he suffers and he brings suffering to others. Hiranyakashipu, when he is defied by his son, he takes drastic measures. He tries in many ways to kill Prahlad. But Prahlad is able to survive each time. He tried to trample him under the stampede of elephants, to pierce him with sharp weapons, to throw him off the top of a mountain, to enclose him in caves with venomous snakes. Even, and there's the famous pastime that we're all familiar with that takes place around the time of Bhagwa, where Hiranyakashipu's sister Holika is burnt. Even though she received the benediction, she could not be burnt. When she attempted to deceitfully kill Prahlad, she was burnt and Prahlad was saved. Ultimately, Hiranyakashipu, rather than resort only to others attempting to kill his son and failing, Hiranyakashipu said, I'll do it myself. Where is this Lord that you are worshipping? He's everywhere. Is he within this pillar? Yes, he's within this pillar. And Hiranyakashipu, he got up of his throne with his sword in hand, and with great force he struck the pillar in his kingdom, in his courtyard. And there was a great sound that erupted from within this pillar. And with great force, to make true the words of his devotee Prahlad, that the Lord is present everywhere, including within this pillar, the Lord burst forth and engaged in a great battle with the demon Hiranyakashipu. And ultimately, Hiranyakashipu was killed and Prahlad was saved. Jayadev Goswami sings about this in his Gita Govinda. Tava kara kamala vare nakamadbhuta shringam dalita hiranyakashipu tano bringam keshavadrita narahari rupa jaya jagadish hade jaya jagadish hade jaya jagadish hade. O Keshava, Lord of the universe, O Lord Hari, who have assumed the form of half man, half lion, all glories to you. Just as one can easily crush a wasp between one's fingernails, so in the same way, the body of the wasp-like demon Hiranyakashipu has been ripped apart by your wonderful pointed nails on your beautiful lotus-like hands. So in this way, Jayadev Goswami glorifies Lord Nrsimhadev. Prahlad himself offers this prayer to Lord Nrsimhadev. Om Namo Bhagavate Nrsimhaya Namastejas Tejase Avir Avir Bhava Vadra Nakha Vadra Dhangstra Karmashayan Randaya Randaya Tamo Grasha Grasha Om Swaha Abhayam Abhayam Atmani Bhuyishta Om Shraum. He says, I now offer my respectful obeisances unto Lord Nrsimhadev, the source of all power. O my Lord, who possess nails and teeth just like thunderbolts, kindly vanquish our demon-like desires for fruitive activity in this material world. Please appear in our hearts and drive away our ignorance, so that by your mercy we may become fearless in the struggle for existence within this world. Hiranyakashipu, he had conquered everywhere. He had conquered from the top of the material universe, the highest regions, down to the bottom, the lowest regions of the universe. But he hadn't conquered within his own heart. And ultimately, this led to his downfall. So therefore, Prahlad Maharaj is praying that please appear within our hearts and drive away our ignorance, so that by your mercy we become really fearless in the struggle for existence within this material world. So therefore, the example of Hiranyakashipu is not to be followed. It is to be learned from. Hiranyakashipu did not deal properly with his grief. And therefore, when his brother was killed, rather than become healed, he became hateful. And where did he direct his hate? To the Lord. This ultimately led to his downfall. Even though he received so many benedictions from the worship of Brahma, these benedictions became like burdens. And even though he was able to conquer throughout the universe, he was not able to conquer the demons within his own heart of material lust, envy, greed, anger. And we see Prahlad Maharaj, even though he was abused by his father, even though he was in a situation that was completely not livable because his father was trying to kill him, nonetheless, Prahlad Maharaj was able to thrive. And this is the nature of a devotee. As we grow in our love for the Lord, the devotee is able to convert miseries into mercy. He sees that these miserable situations are being personally given to me by the Lord, that I may grow in my dependence and love for Him. We may not be able to tolerate the types of situations that Prahlad Maharaj was placed in, but certainly the situations that we would have been placed in this life, we can learn from them, even though they may be difficult, and grow by developing a sense of dependence on the Lord. And the Lord will bring us through these situations. And therefore we can offer prayers to Lord Nrsimha Dev, that my dear Lord, just as you have protected Prahlad Maharaj in his times of greatest need, my dear Lord, please also you protect me. Hare Krishna.